All right, so our last scientist in our studying, and really for matter and change, the story really ends with Bohr, but for chemistry class, we go on to study a little bit more, but I just wouldn't feel right leaving you without the end of the story. So just real quick, a little bit about Erwin Schrodinger, because his model, is still the one that we use today for the most part. And it's held the test of time a lot longer than some of the other ones. And so all of that work has kind of led us to this model. And so Bohr's model is really good for helping us understand the atom and visualize it, and we will use it in class. But beyond him, in 1926, Erwin Schrodinger came to prove Bohr's planetary model wrong and said, hey, Bohr, actually, electrons don't just hang out in nice little orbits. They actually occupy regions, which he called orbitals, which is really close. And he proved this with a very famous formula, wave formula. It's called the Schrodinger equation, way beyond the scope of this course. It's not even an undergraduate level. You need like beyond calculus to understand it. But he did win a Nobel Prize for his work, and he's definitely in pop culture if you look up Schrodinger's cat and whatnot. But what is his model, okay? And how did he further develop it? And he has this model, the electron cloud model, is what he developed. It's also known as the quantum mechanical model. So the electron cloud model or the quantum mechanical model are what they're called. And what he kind of showed and proved was that there isn't really electrons can't be controlled. You can't tell them where they're going to go, but you can predict with about 90% probability of where they will be, okay, and where we think an electron will be. And so this is trying to show kind of like a time-lapse video of where electrons are likely to be. And so you can kind of see like this nucleus here would be like a tiny little dot in the center, okay, not even visible. And then all these dark dots are like where electrons are. So you can see that electrons do tend to occupy with a higher probability these certain regions, and that there is kind of this space in between where they don't hang out as much. At least these electrons don't. Other electrons will kind of layer in. You have to understand that electrons want to repel each other. And so, but they're competing with wanting to be as close to the nucleus as possible. And those competing forces is what creates kind of the probability of where will you find the electrons. So electrons repel other electrons because like charges repel, but then electrons they are attracted to the positive nucleus. And so those two competing forces is how Schrodinger kind of modeled his work and kind of studied how electrons fill in around the nucleus of the atom. If you're taking my full chemistry course, then we will go over the more in depth of where electrons actually fill in. But for matter and change, then we just kind of introduce this. So just so that you are aware of what the next step is and that there's always more to learn. So to summarize kind of the models that we've looked at, we looked at the ancient Greek Democritus model, Dalton's model, Thomson's model, Rutherford, Bohr, and the wave quantum mechanical model. Chadwick isn't on here because he didn't really add a model, he just added a subatomic particle, and Lavoisier isn't here. He kind of gets tied in with Dalton. But if you like this chart, feel free, if it helps you like know like the order and what each person kind of contributed to the model. And then again, I started with this way back when we started, but now hopefully these models are recognizable to you. And we did not cover de Broglie, but he is another one that kind of gets covered. But you have Democritus and Dalton had the same one, Thomson, Rutherford's nuclear model, the planetary model, and the electron cloud model. And that's a wrap. So we will this was atomic history, and next we will get into atomic structure. That'll be our next lesson. Can't wait.